Good morning and welcome to the Standing Committee's meeting for Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. For all council meetings will be live streamed on the city's website, and for guest speakers joining us at the table, please do not turn your microphones off. Our first order of business is roll call. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin.
Here.
Mr. Coghill. Ms. Gross.
Here.
Mr. Lavelle.
Here.
Mr. Mosley.
Here.
Ms. Cal Smith. Ms. Warwick. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Ms. Strasburger, Chair.
Here.
6 members present.
Thank you. Our next order of business is public comment. I would like to remind all speakers that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which are or may be before City Council. Profanity will not be permitted. Please state your name and neighborhood for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Our first registered speaker is Harold Keller.
Good morning. Once again, here to speak about PCTV. Well, I really can't speak about it now. It's all gone. The whole station was cleaned out. Phones disconnected. Everybody just took off who worked there. I heard that the equipment is in someplace in a warehouse in the city. I don't know how true that is, but if it is, right now I'm trying to concentrate on a reboot. That maybe we could get the station back on the air somehow, some way, if somebody had any funding and they would be willing to do it, even if it was just a cheap little station in somebody's cellar or in some one-room shack, something, because Pittsburgh deserves to have a public access television station. Every other major city does. So even if we can get it rebooted as a cheap little thing, it would be great. But all this, there's so many memories from it. In 2010, now 14 years ago, there were rumors that the station was going to be shut down. And I was down here then in 2010 to talk about it. Reporter from the Post-Gazette was here, Pitt News, and all the religious people who had shows on the station at the time were here. They were out in the hall crying that the station was going to be shut down and praying on their hands and knees. And I came in and spoke about it. And later on, after I had left at the meeting afterward, one of the council people said, now, about that show that he has on, it will not be tolerated. I have received hundreds of complaints about the language, the vulgarity, and it cannot be tolerated. I'm going to look into it. And the Pitt News did a story about it. And they said in the Pitt News, the executive director, that he had my back on it. No matter how offensive I was, no matter how many people hated me, he was standing behind me. And if they didn't like it, it was too bad. So he had my back at the time. So that's what I'm mad about right now. He was two-faced. He absolutely was two-faced. Now, at the end of the station, he doesn't want anything to do with me, won't even speak to me. And I gave him all the critics online just bashed me in the show and everything. But recently, there was one good review about it, and I gave him a copy of that review. I wanted to talk to him about it because I said, well, not everybody hated it. This review, they said it was a brilliant satire that made fun of the social norm, but it was so brilliant. And PCTV is to be commended for letting us on the air, for having us on the air, because it's absolutely brilliant. And that was the first review I ever got that was positive in 15 years of the show. And he didn't want anything to do with it. After he claimed for 14 years that he had my back on it no matter what happened. So I'll try to get the station up going again, try to talk to some people. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. There being no further registered speakers, we will now take comments from those in the audience wishing to speak. Are there any speakers wishing to come to the podium?
Yes. Hello, my name is Joseph J. I'm from Pittsburgh. I represent Pittsburgh all in every form. My biggest thing right now is homeless and ex-offenders. So I'm just here to put everybody on notice. There's a thing called misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance, right? That means I could sue y'all and get you liable for not doing what you're supposed to be doing as public officials, okay? I'm tired of it. I'm a 501c3. And I just see y'all keep coming up with ideas and giving money to people who's winging ideas instead of going to people who have real solid ideas, right? I'm not going to get back into that now. I'm just going to sue y'all, right? And I'm going to try to have y'all removed whichever way I can, because you're not here. You're here to serve us, period. Not to serve yourselves. Not saying that's what you're doing, but if it's going on, we're done with it, period. The old way of running America is done, period. And I'm going to show people how you use the courts to make y'all do what y'all supposed to do. Remember that, y'all. Misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance. Any of them can be found liable on that situation. Appreciate you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Yvonne F. Brown. I live at 715 Mercer Street, 15219. I haven't been coming down in a while because I'm going through some things, but let's put that aside. I want you and everybody else to listen to this. I just ran into our district attorney, Sapala. So you know my son was let to die on the floor in Wilkinsburg for 5 white cops while he was begging for his life and bleeding from his head. Now, I saw Sapala, and I said to him, I brought to his mind, I said, Sapala, I go to Bethel AME Church. Reverend Cooper was a minister then. When he found out what happened, he said, you go to Sapala and you tell Sapala, you got 5 sons and you only had 1. So I told him that. I said, and you told me, I said, they wrote down that my son had a natural heart attack. I said, in the day that I went to the hospital, got his autopsy, I'm an activist, so Bruce had called me. He said, Auntie, he said, I need to get my treatment for my kidneys, but they told me if I come back in the hospital, they were going to put me in jail. He said, I don't care if they take me to jail. I'm not afraid of that. He said, they will give me my treatment. He said, but I got a grandma. She's old, and she won't know what's happening. I don't want her to worry. So when I go in, I got the autopsy. So you had the doctor come in and talk to Bruce. Now, they had put his thing down in his leg, whereas everybody else got it in their arm, and he was talking to him, and he was saying, we don't have the equipment, and we got to get it. What kind of emergency room? But he was so kind to him. I said to him, I showed the doctor, I said, doctor, and I said, they said my son died of a natural heart attack. And so he looked at the autopsy, and when he got down, he said to my son, he was clogged, 75%. He said, that's bad. But then he got down to another part, and he turned different colors. He was a white man. He turned different. He said, you go to WEC, and you demand there's blood around your son's spleen. And he walked away, and he was shaking. Now, I told Sapala, and I never got an inquest. He said, no longer is there an inquest. He said they do the attorney general. And I said, will you? He said, I tried. I said, write me a letter. He said, I tried. Write me a letter and tell me everything you did, and then we'll see about the attorney general. And I told him, and if you don't, I'm telling everybody in city council, do you know? Do you understand what I'm saying? You just don't want to hear it. But anytime my son was begging for his life, 5 cops, white, left him. There was some white cop from Wilkinsburg, Mr. Carthill, was talking to him. I asked their name. They won't tell me the names. I said, I want to know if any of them 5 ones would let my son die. Miss Smith, you know there was some cops here was giving him some money for training from Wilkinsburg, and I asked for the names then. Years, I can't get nothing. Please help me.
Thank you very much. Are any further speakers?
Good morning. Special Agent Sunshine. How's everybody? Y'all okay? Whoever's in my house, you're not sleeping. I know, because my ancestors know you're not supposed to be there. But I'm in the street, huh? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. It doesn't. But this is how God has me looking in the street. This is the favor of God. Money has nothing to do with this, the way I look. Money has nothing to do with it. Why? Because I can't work. Somebody put a camera chip in my left eye, and it's stealing every password I create. If I have a bank account, which I don't, they would steal my money. Everything that belongs to me is being stolen through this camera. So whoever put this camera in my eye, if you're in the NSA, let me explain something to you. Everything works for the greater good of God. So this camera is a blessing, not a curse. It's a curse for you, whoever put it in here. Now, Mosley, I really want to know who you really are. I want to know how you got in that chair. Are you my real father? We're going to find out who my real father is, who my real mother is. And when we do, at that moment, I'm praying to God that they're removed for what they've done to me, for making me suffer my whole life. There's no way. I should not know who I am, what my name is. Whoever changed my name, remove the records. I can't find no documentation on the person who said I'm dead and signed documentation that said I'm dead. So that documentation should be somewhere. Guess what? Nobody can find it. Imagine that. Nobody knows anything. Like you guys. We don't know. Y'all sit on the I don't know. Really? Let me give you some numbers. Which you should know. Right here. Which you ain't gonna like. But these are the numbers I just got yesterday from the meeting downstairs. 3,496 students are homeless. How? 46,714 people are homeless right now. How? The numbers went up from the last analogy y'all made. Like, really? You know why the numbers keep going up? Because whatever you're doing with the money, you're not being blessed for it. We're being cursed. Guess what? Y'all getting ready to come out here with us. I promise you, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And when he does, come out here with as much grace as we are out here. What are y'all doing now? Going to food banks and taking the food from them, from us, for y'all. Because y'all know y'all getting ready to suffer. Y'all getting ready to suffer. Get ready for it. Don't believe it, just watch. I'm not playing with y'all, and neither is he.
Are there any further speakers? Any further speakers? There being no further speakers, we will now move on to our standing committee's agenda. Our first committee is the Finance and Law Committee, and we have supplemental papers, Bill 974.
Bill 974, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into a project labor agreement or agreements with the Pittsburgh Regional Building and Construction Trades Council, AFL-CIO, that will apply to all phases of installation of the city's LED streetlight conversion construction project at no cost to the city.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 974, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. New papers, Bill 946.
Bill 946, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Comer Miller LLC for legal services in connection with the police litigation matter for an amount not to exceed $10,138 over 1 year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 946, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 947.
Bill 947, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Summers, McDonald, Hudock, Guthrie, and Rauch, P.C., for expert legal services in connection with the litigation matter in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania for an amount not to exceed $15,200 over 1 year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 947, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 948.
Bill 948, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Spillman, Thomas, and Battle, PLLC, for expert legal services in connection with the litigation matter in the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania for an amount not to exceed $12,432 over 1 year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Just brief discussion. I just want to mention that executive sessions were held for the public for the last several bills, and that our city council solicitor attends those to make sure we're doing everything
Thank you.
appropriate. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 948, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to invoices. So we have a motion on invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of invoices, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Invoices are approved. That moves us on to P cards. Do we have a motion on P cards?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? I'll note that we do have a note from our council budget office that there are PayPal charges for P cards. They're all for PLI, for the International Association of Electrical Inspectors of Western PA, for 5 employees. And we do have documentation for these charges and why they utilize PayPal for this charge. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of P cards, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
P cards are approved. That moves us on to Public Safety and Wellness Committee chaired by Councilman Coghill.
Bill 943, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for the purpose of receiving and spending grant funds in the amount of $100,000 to support forensic genetic testing by the Bureau of Police.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing,
I'd like to know a little bit about it. Sorry. I'm sorry. Is you here? Good morning. How are you? When you get a moment, just identify yourself for the public and then give us a little synopsis.
Marty Devine, Assistant Chief of Investigations, Pittsburgh Police.
Thank you. And just give us a little synopsis of what you hope to
Yeah,
do
so
here.
this will be used as another investigative tool for the detective branch. It's a lab that can do DNA testing in furtherance of what our Allegheny Crime Lab can do. So it kind of does more in-depth research into the DNA. This will help with a lot of our cold cases and like high-profile cases where we only get a certain amount of DNA that our crime lab cannot test, and we send it out to another lab for further testing.
Okay. And just briefly, how many people are working in the investigative side?
Approximately 165
And how many have we had typically
in the past.
in the past 5 years?
I'd say around that. I mean,
Yeah,
we're down a few.
My cousin used to work in that department, so I'm
Well,
pretty sure
see,
it's not.
I can't speak
Okay.
I mean, I've only been in this role for a year. Prior to that, I was assigned to narcotics. We have some vacant positions that will be filled as our manpower increases.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to give you a hard time, but I just wanted to know, for the public's sake, what you were doing here. Thank you.
You're welcome, is that it?
Yeah, if there's a specific category of cases that this kind of genetic testing focuses on?
This can be used for, it's primarily going to be used for cold cases, for DNA that's in CODIS, where we do not have a definitive hit, or if there's partial DNA where it can get sent out to do some additional testing. And I mean, basically it could be used for any case. We would try to use it for like more high profile cases. It could be used for current cases too. Such as some type of sexual assault, violent crimes.
Right, so
murders.
this would more than likely specifically be used solely around violent crimes and more
Yes,
serious
sir.
violent crimes?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilperson Charlin.
Yeah, so this is a $100,000 grant. Is it $100,000 for a year? Is it for a certain amount of expense we're making? How long does this last?
It's my understanding it's good for 2 years.
For 2 years,
Yes.
okay. And then it says in the cover letter here, and I apologize I didn't open the attachment, that it's a grant. Are we receiving money from someone else to pay for this, or is this an expenditure from us?
No, we will be receiving money from someone else.
Okay, who are we receiving it from?
I believe the name of the grant.
DCD? Okay.
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask my subject matter experts back here or get mine.
Our budget director said DCD.
DCD. Okay, perfect.
I apologize.
No. So this is really state money that we're passing through so that you can
Absolutely.
use it. Okay. For 2 years. Appreciate it.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 943, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Affirmative
Thank you.
recommendation.
Be safe.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. That moves us on to Public Works and Infrastructure Committee, chaired by Councilperson Warwick.
Bill 950, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreement or agreements with the U.S. Department of Energy's Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program for the purpose of receiving grant funds in the amount of $337,960 for the installation of solar panels at the city's 4th Division.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 950, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Bill 951.
Bill 951, resolution authorizing the City of Pittsburgh, the Director of Public Works and Director of Finance to enter into an easement agreement or agreements with Duquesne Light Company to provide, install, use, own, operate, maintain, repair, renew, and finally remove 2 light poles and 1 anchor along with 30 feet of vegetation clearing rights located upon city-owned property in the parking lot of the Pittsburgh Zoo at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to say that I think we need to have a more comprehensive conversation with Duquesne Light and the utility poles across the city of Pittsburgh and the maintenance. In some places you see how they're underground utilities, and we know that there's a cost associated with that that would probably would be passed off to ratepayers. But it's not even just the condition of the utility, the poles. You see lines dwindling down in places, and I just think in general we need to expect a little bit more. And I think Brian Ralston does a great job, which during this budget season it'd be great to add a couple more inspectors for utilities, because we always talk about the utility work in the city. But for me, I just want to make sure that we're having some conversations about Duquesne Light and the maintenance of these poles. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 951, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 952.
Bill 952, resolution granting unto Incheon Ventures LLC, their successors and assigns the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense at no cost to the city, new permanent shoring and footers above grade unit balconies and building facade elements that will extend into the right-of-way at 3239th Street, 6th Ward, 1st Council District.
I have an amendment for this one, so motion to amend?
Second.
Motion to approve.
Oh, sorry, motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
And then I have an amendment. So it's just to change the council district. Thank you, Sean Carter, who spotted that one.
He's earning his pay for real.
Sounds like a Scribner's error.
Yeah. So anyway.
We have a motion to amend. We have a second.
Second.
Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of amending Bill 952, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any further discussion on bill as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 952 as amended, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Affirmative recommendation. Thank you very much. Bill 953.
Bill 953, resolution granting unto the Standard BC LLC, their successors and assigns, the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense at no cost to the city, new permanent building footers and building canopy that will extend into the right-of-way at 2120 Fifth Avenue, 4th Ward, 1st Council District.
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, same thing on this one, motion to amend to change the.
Discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of amending Bill 953, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Bill is amended. Further discussion on bill as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 953 as amended, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to Human Resources Committee chaired by Councilperson Charlin.
Bill 941, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Office of Municipal Investigations to enter into an agreement or agreements with Versaterm, formerly known as CI Technologies, to extend the current agreement and amend the name of the vendor in an amount not to exceed $7,282 over 1 year for OMI's electronic case management system, IA Pro.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 941, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Bill 942.
Bill 942, resolution providing for the issuance of a warrant in favor of Rita Porterfield in an amount not to exceed $15,000 as a settlement for EEOC case over 1 year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 942, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Affirmative recommendation. That moves us on to Land Use and Economic Development Committee chaired by Councilman Wilson.
Bill 2330, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title 9 zoning, Article 90203, zoning map by changing from UCE, Urban Center Employment, to RMU, Residential Mixed Use, certain properties located on McKee Place in the 4th Ward, City of Pittsburgh, known in the Allegheny County Office of Deed Registry as block and lot numbers 28F314, 28F310, 28F308, 28F306, 28F304, and 28F302.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 2023-2330, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. New papers, Bill 959.
Bill 959, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances, Title 9 Zoning Code, Article 6, Development Standards, Chapter 919, Signs, Section 91903, Non-Advertising Signs, to regulate the use of non-advertising signs for major public destination facilities in the RIV-NS District.
Motion to hold 2 weeks.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a 2-week hold on 959, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Bill will be held 2 weeks.
Thank you.
That moves us on to Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Cale Smith.
Bill 949, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh into an agreement or agreements with Allegheny County Department of Human Services for the city's operation of its senior community centers. Said agreement or agreement shall be for a term of 1 year at a cost to the city, with compensation to the city not to exceed $773,100.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 949, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Affirmative recommendation. Moves us on to Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Gross.
Bill 945, resolution amending Resolution 629 of 2023, further amending Resolution 484 of 2022, further amending Resolution 647 of 2021, authorizing the mayor, the director of permits, licenses, and inspections, the director of city planning, and the director of innovation and performance to enter into an amended professional services agreement or agreements with Building Eye, Inc. to purchase software and related support services that will create an interactive map for internal and public visual display of planning, permit, license, and violation data by increasing the approved amount by $40,596 for an amended total cost not to exceed $627,936 over 8.5 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
Discussion.
Councilwoman Cale Smith.
Could somebody come up?
The whole team's here. Interdepartmental.
Good morning, my favorite departments. No, just kidding. Would you please introduce yourselves for the public?
Corey Lehman, Zoning Administrator. David Green, Director of the Department of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections.
John Roth, Special Projects Operations Manager for the Department of City Planning.
I'm Monica Bender, Assistant Director of Licensing and Administration for PLI.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to give, who wants to give a synopsis of what this is for the public?
So this is an amendment to the contract for Building I to extend it while we are developing an internal replacement for the software. So this gives us time to get through those technical details to stand up an alternate product.
Okay, so it was not another RFP, it's just an extension of an already existing contract.
Correct.
And how long have you been working on this? Did anybody know that it was coming up or that you were going to change anything? I'm wondering why we're doing this, extending a contract instead of issuing an RFP.
So the replacement is internal, created by the Department of Innovation and Performance. The existing product, we thought at the beginning of the year we'd be able to have the replacement done before the current contract expired. It's taking more time to develop that replacement than anticipated, so we are extending the contract to cover it. And this should more than cover any other additional things we need to.
And when you change it, do you anticipate it having additional information and more accessible to the public?
Yes, we do anticipate it'll be much more flexible, as I understand, for users so that they could, if I'm correct, customize the information if they create an account and have more extensive information available. John, you may be able to speak to some of that.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. We should be able to have more control over the dashboards we create to display the data, so we can change it to show whatever we would like, I believe.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm partly thinking about putting PL&I back under public safety. Whether or not we do it or not, we're going to have a public conversation about it. I think that there's a lot of issues. One, for me, it's when I call a director, I expect a return phone call because I'm calling about something a constituent has concern about. I don't expect a phone call a week and a half later with absolutely no results from that. And so I'll just say that I'm going to start looking into stuff like this because I just want to make it very clear. When a council member asks a director a question, by law you have to answer us, or otherwise it's considered malfeasance. So I just want to make sure that's very clear that, and I'm going to start asking a lot more questions about this because for me, I try working with everyone in the city of Pittsburgh. When I call or I complain or I say something, it's because I have an issue. What I don't want is for somebody to use a program like this and say, well, it's on building, it's on Building I or whatever it's called. Building I. That it's on there and you can look. No, I want the answer. I want you to get me the information, not just you, but anybody in general across the board. I mean, every department does it. They'll say, what's on this? Well, sometimes I just want you to give us the answer, or I want you to work through concerns with our residents. So I just want to say for me, I'm going to vote no today on this because I feel like there's always like a way that we're avoiding. It used to be directors would answer, not just us, but our constituents at all hours of the day and night. And now we have communications people that do that. It's a way of avoiding responsibility to the public that we serve. And so for me, I want to make sure you're not only just answering for me because I'm asking for the public, but that you're also available, directors are available to the public as well, as they used to be. And they used to have less staff, less money, and a lot more of aggravation in a lot of ways, and yet they managed to respond to the public. And I know that there's a different way of doing things, but good customer service never goes away. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're doing this internally?
The replacement for this, so this allows us sufficient time to come up with a product that is stood up internally using existing systems. So this will get us to a path where we're not paying someone outside to provide this transparent information to the public.
So no new RFP, no new contract, saving city $600,000 plus.
Yes.
That's amazing. So if all we need to do is approve the extra $40,000 so the system doesn't go down, to give you a little more time, and then we'll have an internal product that will be more robust, that you'll have more control over, and will be free of the yoke of a contract to some external company.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilperson Charlin.
So I think I missed that we were going to do this internally, or maybe I heard that and didn't stick. So I'm excited to learn that that's a possibility. That's coming from INP. We're not working with like an outside vendor to create the system at all. It's something that we can do ourselves.
It is something we can do ourselves using Esri services that we already utilize for other data.
Okay.
We share publicly.
Cool. And one of the, so especially from being a staffer, I think for a certain period of time, Building Eye or Agency Counter was my like top website. I was always on it constantly. And I know that we've integrated PLI and zoning, or I guess maybe not just zoning, maybe it's planning as a whole, into Building Eye. One of the things that I would love to see is an integration with DPW, with environmental services, and DOMI with their both permits and their enforcement arms into that process. Is that something that we could do or we could move towards?
I can't remember if DOMI is on the meetings currently, but it should be possible to integrate DOMI's permitting data into Esri to display with the other permits from PLI and DCP.
And collectively, as development agencies, we are trying to coordinate and collaborate more closely, building on the building and development application to try to coordinate our efforts and streamline the process and provide more transparent and accessible information to the public.
I'm happy to hear that. And how far along are we in the process of creating this system?
Right now, we're still in the process of building the data pipeline to send the permit data to display it in Esri. I think that's where we've encountered some hiccups that we're trying to work past, that we were not getting all of the data we were expecting from Computronics. But once those are resolved, I believe the dashboard building portion should be relatively quick. But it's just, like I said, we're in the process of finalizing the last little hiccups with those data pipelines.
So one of the things I would love to see in this new, what are we calling the new system?
I don't know that we've come up with a name.
Will council get the opportunity to vote on that?
Maybe we can come up with it.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'll call it Building Eye. I don't care what you do. I'll call it Building Eye for the next, however long I'm here. But with a new system, one of the things that I've noticed in Agency Counter, that if I have, and I don't know if everyone with a city email or exactly how that works, but there are a lot of things that I can see in there that I don't think the public has necessarily access to, which is really helpful for me when I'm working with constituents to figure out where we are in the process of court dates and some of those kind of finer details. Is that going to be the plan moving forward with Building Eye 2.0, as I'm calling it?
That I'm not sure yet, Mr.
Okay.
And I think some of those differences might also be whether people register for an account. So Building Eye functions to share some general data with anybody, but additional information and features such as searching for specific records, if I believe you have to register an account. So that might be some of the issues constituents are having, but we're looking to expose as much information as we can and comparable to what we're doing, and then increase that. So some of the things that council offices and constituents may be looking for, DOMI as you raised, but finer detail on case enforcement, like information relating to court cases and outcomes and additional info.
I mean, with every year, I think Building Eye gets better and better, and there's more details in there, especially with like property issues, noticing exactly. One of the things that's helped me is seeing exactly what we're telling constituents they need to do to abate an issue. Being able to read that from my computer screen is really helpful, and being able to walk through that with constituents that are concerned about their own issues. I think that's really helpful. It would be helpful at whatever level that is possible to get some form of that with planning and zoning. I know that sometimes you can't just put in an easy one sentence. It's not just remove the trash from your front yard. It's fill out this form and this form and this form. Being able to get that level of accessibility, so I don't have to call you to understand exactly what we're looking for to abate an issue, would be really beneficial.
Yeah, I think in terms of enforcement items, we're hopeful we can work with PLI on that to just make sure that the information that's available is clear. And then for zoning and planning records, I believe this new system will have additional capabilities that we've struggled to be able to implement into Civic Central, like around our commission meetings and board meetings and that kind of thing. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So we'd say this property is up for a planning commission meeting, November.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And I think just overall, the product allows for a lot more sort of turning things on and off, filtering, saying, so I just want to see planning commission meetings. That's at least I don't want to say for sure without having seen it fully developed, but that was, our understanding when we started working on this.
Awesome. Well, my hope is that you keep us in the loop as you're moving forward here. Our offices could not function without this software, and we all use it very heavily. So please, let us know. And I ask that you ask us for our input so you can incorporate it. That would be really helpful. Something I'm excited about. So that's cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Warwick.
Yeah, thanks. So, just to echo just some additional input, but it would be nice to actually sit down with our staff and whatever, because I'm sure they have more. But off the top of my head, if we could have all the information keyed in about court dates, like where, when, where, all of that, because that is something that, we end up calling the magistrate a lot, and it would be really helpful for neighbors, especially because, you can go to the court date and whatever if you have an issue with a structure in your neighborhood. Another nice to have would be alerts. Like if you could do alerts by, I know that I always get calls where it's like, what's this new building going up on 2nd Avenue? And I'm like, I don't know. And it would be nice to be able to set alerts. So it's like if a new permit is pulled in your district or whatever, you can, you get it and then you can check it out and see what it is. And if it's something big, then you know about it and you can let curious minds know when they call the office. So, and I'm sure that my staff has 20 other things. So thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Good to see you all today. Now, this problem, it's not really a problem, but I think it could be improvement. But I think it was brought up a couple years ago whenever Director Kinter was here. So maybe it was already fixed, but it's whenever there's, there's for a project, there could be project manager, but then there's different subs in the job, different contractors, and then there's also design, so architecture or design firm. And the ability for the owner of the property or the project manager to actually see in the system what's happening with their own property, all the permits being pulled, wasn't possible 2 years ago. It was very difficult to share that information. It was always I always found that extremely frustrating. Not that there was anything that anyone here did wrong, but just coming up to speed with software, because it was frustrating because the the contractor or the design person would say one thing to the owner, project manager, and they would just listen to them. But then in reality, the issue that they could actually see what the issues are. Like you were saying one thing, and they're just like, oh no, my contractor's saying this. And it's just like this back and forth. It never gets anywhere if they could just have access to what that contractor is. Like if they could see that the contractor never replied back to the inspector, then that would have solved like 10 phone calls, I remember one time. So no problem that anyone that here, but just something that came up a couple years ago and seems to come up every now and then, and just want to make sure that that's solved either like now or in the new system.
So that's I believe related to the one-stop PGH portal system. And with the launch of the building development application, multiple applicants are now able to be identified. So when someone submits an application, they can add additional people so that they can see the information, documents that are submitted, reviews, inspections, etc. So that is now in the one-stop system. I do believe it may not be available on every application yet. We have some further reconfiguration to do with existing applications, but that capability is now in the system. It was a common pain point for us, our customers, council members, everyone. Really.
And how can someone how can the owner or the project manager jump in on that? Like what right do they have to do that? Like they just sign up and
so the
say,
applicant
hey,
is the one who is identifying additional individuals that they want to be associated with the application they're submitted. Owners can also reach out to PLI's application technicians to request that they be added as a co-applicant. There'd be a process to confirm who they are, as they say they are, and that they are an owner of the property, but that can happen. The other is for whatever their tenant or whoever is filing applications on their behalf to ask them to do so.
Okay, great. So that is solved in one stop. But even in Building I mean, there would still be, like you're talking about, court dates and stuff and different stuff that can be shown. I mean, will that be also available to a co-applicant if they requested it?
There are no applicants in Building I, but property owners, just like any other, if they create an account, they should be able to set up alerts. So agency counter allows that. I'm not familiar with the fine-grained detail, but anticipate that with the new system, it would be more flexible, is our understanding. So a property owner could create an account and potentially say, I want alerts for anything related to this property.
All right, great, thanks.
Thank you. We're going to be moving to second round. I'll just say one thing real quick, and that is that our office also uses Building I a lot, as do I. I find it very helpful. I want to thank you for holding I think it was a training earlier this year with council and staff on the software and hearing our feedback on some of the changes that you were planning to make and asking us what we thought about various aspects of the software. It sounds like it might be well worth it to hold another one prior to final launch, when this internal 2.0 version is further along in its development. Sounds like there's some council members who didn't have an opportunity with their staff to provide the feedback that they wanted. So I guess with that, we're going into busy season for council. Do you know the rough timeline from IMP's perspective on this? Can it wait until the new year to have that additional training?
I would anticipate it might take beyond, I don't know that we'll have all our problems solved by the end of the year, so I don't think, we'll get back to you on specific timeframes. confirm those, but in principle, definitely amenable to meeting and getting feedback, as well as providing training and insight on the new system, and then would also want to provide resources to the public as well, and potentially some public engagement similarly after it launches, so that the public can understand how to use it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right, second round, Councilwoman Gross.
Thank you. I was just going to offer to organize the second briefing for council members. So same thing. So we'll work with Director Norman and you all and see if even a sneak preview, even if you don't have to be in the room, I don't know if it's probably viewable in some shape or form. So because it clearly, yeah, the more we talk about it, I think the more it kind of stimulates our ideas of what might be possible.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need to be connected to the intranet to access it once it's developed. So, but
we can always like come down to your office and like click over your shoulder.
Yeah. So, but I think we have that next hurdle that John was pointing to, making that data connection.
Right.
Once that's resolved, I think we can begin to share some info. But until that happens, we won't know. We need to sort through that before we can share too much more. But absolutely happy to, and really value insight from yourselves, your staff, and constituents. And I'll also say broadly why I recommend people use it is I often use it because people may not know an address or provide very limited information, and it being map-based is invaluable to try to hone in on what might be the application, case file, or variance that they're asking about.
Many of you have received my literally snapshotted paper maps where I've literally had to go to all the different databases and our own constituent record to show the cluster of problems that are happening in my district. So I have several versions of these for several parts of my district where I just tell myself, just print me out this screenshot, and then I hand code all of these things that are happening down and uphill from each other and then email it to people. So I won't have to do that, it sounds like. Or maybe someday I won't have to do that anymore. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kell Smith.
Thank you. I just want to also add that I hear a lot of conversation about how great it is for the technology, but I have a lot of people in my district who can't access technology. So I hope that we're not just using technology as a way to communicate with the public, and that we're answering phone calls and being accessible to the people as much as possible, or having somebody who's going to address some of those things. And as Councilman Wilson mentioned, really user-friendly software is really important. But I want to say my frustration is also, I heard Councilwoman Work mention about letting council know. We used to always know what was going on in our districts. And now it's like pulling teeth to find out what's going on in our district. And the more we spend, the less we know. And the more that we are doing to try to make sure the public knows, the more we're getting phone calls because they can't utilize the systems either. So a lot of people in my district can't afford. I know Councilwoman Gross has a lot of people with technology jobs in her district. I don't have that in my district. I don't have people that can afford computers in a lot of areas, or even know how to access them, even if they could get them. So I mean, we do a lot of computer distributions. We do a lot of helping people navigate the system. We do a lot of that stuff in my district. But the bottom line is, there's still a lot of people who can't access it. So I just want to make sure that we're available for those people who cannot or don't want to, and that we're getting answers to the constituents in a timely fashion when they need something. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Second round. Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill 945, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation.
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
That exhausts our meeting agenda. We'll now move on to meeting announcements. Next week, Council will hold their regular meeting and Standing Committees meeting on Tuesday, October 8th and Wednesday, October 9th at 10 a.m. respectively. Speaker registration will close at 9 a.m. the morning of each meeting. To register to speak at these meetings and hearings, please fill out the sign-up form on the Council meeting webpage by the deadlines. You may also call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Anything from members?
I just want to thank Sean Carter and Solicitor Dan Friesen yesterday for presenting to the Planning Commission regarding my legislation in terms of community housing. I think that they are such an asset to City Council, and I think they're trying to make sure that City Council doesn't lose any authority or or minimize us in any fashion. And I think they did an amazing job yesterday with that. I think that right now we're going to have conversations about the zoning and about the impact to the city and what it could be, but it can't just be that it all comes from city planning or from us or from the administration. I think we're going to have on our side, so people are hearing both sides of everything and what we need to do. But I think I'm hopeful that we'll at least have some conversations and more outreach to the public. Because I want the public to know we are absolutely talking about going out to the public and informing them and letting them know what's going on with the legislations across the board. So, because a lot of people want to make sure that they're having a say and that we're explaining to them. So I want to make sure we're doing that job too.
Thank you. Anything else from members? Councilman Mosley.
I just wanted to wish Council President Lavelle a happy birthday.
Oh, is it his birthday?
I hope he enjoys it. Me and him, we go way back, and just hope it's another wonderful trip around the sun for him.
Happy birthday to
What is
Council
he?
President Lavelle.
35?
Maybe
He's
33.
like a perpetual 35.
Yeah, we'll say 33 for the record.
And I want to thank him too for yesterday for him helping to make sure council didn't minimize council in any fashion. And I think all of council made that clear that we're not going to minimize our authority, and we're also going to work for what's in the best interest of the city of Pittsburgh as a whole. I just want to that was a nice thing that he did yesterday.
Thank you. Anything else from members? I do want to take the time to wish everyone celebrating a very sweet and happy Rosh Hashanah celebration tonight and the next day or so, and a healthy, peaceful new year ahead. Thanks so much. Do a motion to excuse the absent members, approve the minutes, and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.